Hi, I'm Howard from Cyber Times LLC, and you probably know me for puppet parodies. This is Harvey. I'm Harvey. I am not a hurricane. This is a puppet I use as Geraldo Rivera. This is Geraldo Rivera here. And I do tech videos with drones. I'm not here to talk about puppets or technology. I'm here to talk about the storms, hurricanes that have happened. One of the worst hurricanes, maybe in 10 or 15 years. Harvey has caused a lot of devastation, and I'm very concerned about that. And there's another one coming up, Irma, which is now headed towards Florida. Today is September 6th, and by the weekend, it could be going up north through Florida, and that's pretty scary. But I want to talk about Harvey, which devastated Texas, parts of Texas, and it's very concerning to me. And we are in the suburbs of Detroit. Rarely have storms that could cause any type of flooding like that. We do have tornadoes, but we don't have that kind of problem very often. We have had water in our basement, but that can be fixed. There was a lot of devastation in Texas, from Galveston and the Gulf all the way up through Houston and in surrounding areas, and it was horrible, and they showed a lot of it on TV. But they didn't show great details of what these families are experiencing. It was very sad to see the devastation in Texas, where streets and roads, and instead of having cars on them, they had cars floating in what looked like rivers, and houses were flooded up to 4 or 5 feet. I can't imagine how horrible that is, and what it would take to fix, and the cost. And I understand many of the people didn't have insurance, and 100,000 homes were affected. It's tragic, and I couldn't even imagine anything happening to us here in the Detroit area. Tornadoes have been problems and have devastated some areas. We haven't really experienced that. I follow the New York blogger Casey Neistat, and I really like him because we like New York City. He does a lot of stuff in New York. He does technology and drones, and he's interesting, and he talks to you. And it turns out he put up a video on September 4th. His wife's family lives in Houston, and he actually put up a documentary of what they're going through and what they have to do to survive. And I have some of the clips of the video up behind me.
So just arrived in Houston. Candace's parents live here in Houston. They live in one of the neighborhoods that was really badly affected by the floods. I don't know what to expect.
First of all, the house and many of the homes flooded up to about 5 feet, and that's why people had to get around in boats, and the current was so dangerous that they couldn't go out into the water because of they could have drowned.
Come save me sheet.
This is what he put up?
Yeah.
For help?
Yeah.
His wife's name is Candace. Her family lives in Houston, and this house looks like it's devastated.
The smell is just gross, isn't it? The bed floated away.
But what he did was he went through what the levels were, where they came from. They were near a drainage. He was doing sort of like a technical documentary instead of a personal documentary.
Another 25 feet or so. So from the very bottom of this concrete to the very top of the grass, it's probably like 40, 50. And that's the height at which Candace's parents' house is, the very top of where you see the grass here. And the water at its highest was probably 8 to 10 feet above. So this is completely underwater.
Yeah. This was the last place he was before he went to the kitchen.
What's the plan? Just tear the house down to the...
Pay to tear the whole house down.
But it hit me personally because how horrible it is that. One of the things that hit me was that they were in the kitchen, and they said the water was up to their counters, like 4 feet. And they opened a drawer, and there was water in the drawer.
Ugh.
And Casey was showing photos out in the backyard, like hundreds of photos dry. And fortunately, they had insurance, but insurance can't help the hardship that's going on. They couldn't live there. It was just to see it inside the home and how damaged it was. And the water had receded, obviously, but what they had to go through, I can't imagine having to go through that. You couldn't live there while they're rebuilding it, repairing things. All the furniture is probably ruined. Everything has to be thrown out. We did have a problem here in the Detroit area where the sewage backed up in some of the towns, and that was bad enough, and people were throwing stuff out. Candace's father, they couldn't get out through the doors or windows because the water was pretty raging. But in the kitchen, he broke the glass in a skylight and climbed out through the skylight to safety to be rescued.
So when it got to there, I said, I have to get out of here. And the current was too much outside. So I chopped out the skylight with a hammer. And then...
This is not easy for anyone over 40 or even anyone, in this situation. It looked like he was maybe in his 60s, and that can't be an easy thing to do, to climb up 8 feet above out of your kitchen through a skylight. It was just devastating, and the uniqueness about this video from this documentary from Casey Neistat was that it just showed what an individual family had to do to deal with this tragedy. And so that really struck me. And now that the Irma is coming through, possibly going through Florida, this could happen again. My heart goes out to people in Texas, including Casey's family. It's hard to imagine that maybe 100,000 homes had been damaged. And where can these people go? This is what I wanted to talk about in my blog, and it was really tough to see and very sad. If anybody is interested in subscribing to my tech vlog or puppet vlog, please subscribe.